The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Shares trade higher across Asia as expectations of a possible U.S. interest rate cut help ease concerns over trade tensions between Washington and Beijing. All major Asian markets are in positive territory, with South Korea's Kospi leading gains at more than 2%. In the currency market, the Australian dollar strengthens against the U.S. dollar. The greenback is little changed, with a slight uptick against the Hong Kong dollar, but weakens against other Asian currencies. In commodities, gold adds more than 1%, while oil price slipped. In crypto, Bitcoin edges down less than 0.1%, and Ethereum falls 0.2%. Global markets are too comfortable with risks that include trade wars and geopolitical tensions, and this could increase the chance of a disorderly market correction. That warning coming from the International Monetary Fund. Despite its recent volatility, markets have mostly been resilient since April, when U.S. President Donald Trump unleashed his sweeping tariffs. Speaking to reporters in Washington on Tuesday, an IMF official said term premium, or the risk premium investors demand for holding longer-term bonds, is now at levels not seen since before 2009. The IMF said central banks should remain alert to tariff-driven inflation risks and take a cautious stance on monetary easing to minimize further valuation spikes in riskier assets. And we have this just in. Controversial contractors Curly and Sara Discaya have withdrawn their cooperation with the investigation of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI. ICI Executive Director Brian Hosaka said the couple invoked the right against self-incrimination. We'll give you more details in our succeeding newscasts. Almost all Filipinos believe that corruption in government is widespread, with the majority also seeing it as a normal part of politics. A recent Pulse Asia survey showed that 97% of respondents believed corruption was widespread. Of this number, 78% said it was very widespread, while 20% described it as somewhat widespread. The survey also found that most respondents viewed corruption in government as a normal occurrence. Malacañang says President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. remains focused on serving the Filipino people and fighting corruption regardless of survey numbers. In a statement, the palace said the president continues to work tirelessly to improve the lives of Filipinos, especially amid recent calamities. It added the administration is glad Filipinos are seeing who is truly working for the nation and not for personal interest. The statement comes after the latest social weather station survey showed President Marcos posting a trust rating of 43%, slightly down from 48% in June. Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte's trust rating dropped to 53%, down by 8 points from 61% in June, her sharpest fall this year. No lawmakers named for now. Prosecutor General Richard Fadulyon says the Justice Department's investigation report on the flood control scandal did not include any congressman or senator due to lack of evidence, but he warns future cases could have more respondents.
The reason why it's the first district of the District Engineering Office of Bulacan involves only projects that were undertaken by the respondents, and so far the evidence that we have points only up to the DPWH officials. We have not included any proponent, whether it's a congressman or a senator, because no evidence has been presented thus far. It's so far as these 5 cases are concerned. But of course, we're not precluding the possibility of having more respondents, in the upcoming cases that will be filed.
As to the applicants for state witness, here's what Fadulyon has to say.
It doesn't necessarily mean that if one has a participation, his participation is equal to the other correspondents. So it could be that in a conspiracy, There is one who acts as the actual assailant, who actually does the killing. There is one who acts as lookout. There is one who acts as a perimeter security. So if you look at if you look at the status of those three individuals, it would appear that the one, although they were part of the plan,
Yeah.
the one who did not take the actual part in the killing, no, could be considered as a state witness in that particular case.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure wants more lookout bulletins issued to more than a dozen individuals linked to the flood control scandal. These include former lawmaker Mary Mitzi Mitch Cahayon Uy and Arturo Taide, the father of Quezon City 1st District Representative Arjo Ataide. They have been implicated in the flood control scam. The ICI previously requested an ILBO against several officials, including former House Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez and former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico. The ILBO request also includes Senators Joel Villanueva, Francis Escudero, Jinggoy Estrada, and Bong Revilla. Caloocan 2nd District Representative Edgar Erice opposes the House's final version of the 2026 budget, mainly due to the inclusion of 243 billion pesos in unprogrammed funds. On BNC's Business 360, Erice argued that these funds violate the Constitution and are prone to corruption. He stressed that unprogrammed appropriations, which lack certain sources or financing, could lead to abuse and have been used in the past for legislators' so-called pet projects.
Yung 243 billion is a big chunk of the remaining funds for projects. Saka sabi ko nga, it's hindi naman sigurado itong itong pondo na ito. Kung talagang kailangan to, dapat nilagay nila sa program funds, program allocations. Tapos tanggalin nila yung mga hindi ganong importante. Anyway, kung, for example, next year, magkaroon ng bagong revenue, magkaroon ng other source of financing, then we can always pass a supplemental budget. And then it will be itemized and it will be subjected to the scrutiny of Congress.
Erice also called for stronger oversight and greater independence for the Independent Commission for Infrastructure to hold government officials accountable. Meanwhile, the Department of Information and Communications Technology has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with mWell, the digital health platform of ultra-Bilyonaryo Manny V. Pangalinan's Metro Pacific Group, to advance the government's universal healthcare program. Paulo Barcelon is on the line for the details. Paulo?
Robert, the DICT and mWell of the Metro Pacific Health Group formalized a partnership that seeks to integrate digital health services into the government's eGov.ph app. Under the agreement signed Wednesday afternoon in Bacoor City, mWell's digital platform will be connected to government health systems to allow Filipinos to access medical services online, including consultations, records, and referrals. DICT Secretary Henry Agude says the collaboration supports the agency's efforts to strengthen digital public services, particularly in healthcare. mWell officials say the move will also help streamline health records and promote greater coordination between public and private health providers. For his part, ultra-Bilyonaryo Manny V. Pangilinan says the partnership will help accelerate the growth of more telemedicine options in the country, especially after MVP's Metro Pacific Health Tech acquired Consulta MD from Globe Telecom's 917 Ventures back in February. Pangilinan says Consulta MD currently has 4 to 5 million subscribers and that the integration with the eGov app can help boost its numbers. The initiative is also seen to support the national government's digital health ID program and the universal healthcare agenda. mWell, which is developed by Metro Pacific Health Tech Corporation, currently offers teleconsultations, online appointment, bookings, and health monitoring services. Robert.
Thank you for that report, Paulo Barcelon. We're taking a short break. More stories are up next. You're watching Business Brief. Cash remittances from overseas Filipinos reached $2.98 billion in August. Data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas showed this is 3.2% higher than $2.89 billion in the same month last year. The BSP said the growth came from higher inflows by both land-based and sea-based workers. SM Prime Holdings Incorporated, one of Southeast Asia's largest integrated property developers, will open SM City La Union, its 89th mall in the Philippines, on October 17. In its disclosure, the company said SM City La Union spans more than 51,000 square meters of leasable area, over 80% of which has already been taken up. Located along Diversion Road in Barangay Biday, San Fernando City, SM Prime President Jeffrey Lim said this would be the company's 9th mall in northern Luzon and was designed to serve as a landmark for both residents and tourists. REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust of Ayala Land, approves property for share swap worth nearly 21 billion pesos with Ayala Land and its Mindanao-based subsidiaries, Accendo Commercial and Cagayan de Oro Gateway. The deal involved the exchange of 8 commercial buildings in Davao, Cebu, and Cagayan de Oro for over 505 million new REIT shares, priced at 41 pesos and 50 centavos each, a 2% premium over market. The transaction, approved by regulators last month, expanded REIT's gross leasable area to more than 1.39 million square meters. With this infusion, REIT's assets under management rose to 138 billion pesos, strengthening its portfolio across key growth cities and boosting potential dividends for shareholders. Cebu Pacific posts 1.83 million passengers in September. The airline said this figure is 2.6% higher than the 1.78 million recorded in September last year. Cebu Pacific attributed the increase to higher capacity and sustained demand across its routes. Tech experts and advocates call on the Philippine government to explore blockchain technology to combat corruption, strengthen public trust, and improve transparency in government transactions. Let's get more from Andrea Salve. Andrea, what else can you tell us?
Blockchain is being proposed as a tool to close gaps in government systems, making records permanent, transactions verifiable, and accountability automatic. The goal is to make every peso collected and spent traceable in real time. At the core of the plan is a national digital brain, a secure Philippine-hosted blockchain network. To power this infrastructure, tech company executive Jonathan Bukaling says the country must invest in renewable energy corridors and green digital cities. He cites the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Department of Budget and Management as agencies that would directly benefit from this system. A blockchain-based tax clearinghouse would enable real-time digital taxation, while a shared ledger for government spending could help track funds down to the last peso. The technology also holds promise for the private sector, from banking and real estate to logistics, healthcare, and e-commerce, offering greater transparency and fraud prevention. This would be supported by AI-powered monitoring and a trained cyber reserve force. According to Donald Lim, president of Blockchain Council of the Philippines, currently only the DICT has developed their own private blockchain. Last month, the council signed a partnership with the Public Works Department to launch an integrity chain, mainly for foreign-assisted projects. Proponents are calling for a sovereign blockchain and data infrastructure act, a law that would mandate government systems to run on Philippine-controlled networks, ensuring data remains under national jurisdiction.
Andrea Salve, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Thank you for that report, Andrea Salve. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture says no sugar importation is planned until the end of the current milling season in mid-2026. Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr., Sugar Regulatory Administration Chief Paul Azcona, and Farmers Representative Dave Sanson met with stakeholders after low sugar prices were seen in the first bidding in Negros. Officials say traders held back due to confusion from conflicting statements by some farmer groups. To steady the market, the DA and SRA agreed to keep a 2-month buffer stock of refined sugar and classify any imports strictly as reserve sugar, not for local sale. Sanson welcomed the move, saying it reassures farmers and supporters price stability across the sugar industry. We're taking another breather, a look at now how Philippine shares did today. When we return, stay tuned. Philippine Ambassador to Spain, Philippe Jones-Luillier, joined celebrations of National Day of Spain at the Royal Palace in Madrid. In a Facebook post, Their Majesties King Felipe and Queen Letizia, along their Royal Highnesses Princess Leonor and the Princess of Asturias, welcomed him in the event. It was a memorable evening celebrating friendship and diplomacy between the Philippines and Spain. The U.S. passport is no longer as powerful as it once was. The document has fallen out of the world's top 10 most powerful passports, according to the Henley Passport Index, which ranks countries by how many destinations their citizens can enter visa-free. Asia now dominates the list. Singapore is number 1 with visa-free access to 193 destinations, followed by South Korea with 190 and Japan with 189. The United States slips to 12th place, tied with Malaysia with access to 180 destinations. The Philippine passport ranks 79th, tied with Sierra Leone. The shift reflects Asia's rising global influence and how stronger diplomatic relations and open border policies can boost mobility, trade, and business access worldwide. Philippine shares rise for the third straight day. The PSEI closed nearly 0.3% higher to 60.94. Sectoral indices were mixed, with mining and oil rising more than 1%, while property fell nearly 0.9%. Decliners outnumbered advancers 107 to 95, with value turnover reaching 7.9 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks were mixed, with ICTSI rising over 2% and Pure Gold falling nearly 3%. On currencies, the peso is currently trading at 58.08 against the US dollar, up from 58.22 previously. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business, only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.